All right. All right. Welcome everyone to the webinar today for Predictive People Analytics delivered by MP. My name is Sean Fowler. I'm the account manager here at iSolved, joined by my counterpart, Sean Salins. We'll do introductions here in a moment. First, give you today's agenda. So first we're going to meet the presenters. So I'll introduce myself and my colleague. We'll talk a little bit about the predictive people analytics and what that looks like, the features and functionality, and what it's used for, and give you some sample cases. And then we'll take a more in-depth look at the solution itself, where Sean Salins is going to walk us through that user interface so you can see what it looks like, what it can do, and how it operates. And then at the end, of course, we'll have question and answers. If you do have any questions in the meantime, feel free to put them in the chat or Q&A section, and we'll get to them. I'll get to them as we go along through the webinar. All right. So you are fortunate to have the two Seans today, Sean squared. As I said, my name is Sean Fowler. I'm the iSolved account manager here. I help MP with types of solutions like this for their clients. And of course, Sean Salins, he's a senior solution consultant here. He lives, eats, and breathes these solutions, and very knowledgeable at the solutions itself. So we'll hear from him in just a little bit, but wanted to walk you through a little bit about what Predictive People Analytics is and what it can do for you. So of course, it's a powerful and intuitive AI-powered analytic tool. So what does that mean? It just means that you're able to take information about your company, lots of different data points, figure out what it is that you're trying to accomplish, whether it's reduce turnover or just see how your company is broken up into the different D, E, I, and B related to that, and get a better understanding of how you can take that data and take actionable item or actionable courses to right the ship or change an outcome. It's going to connect those important people data within the iSolved cloud. So it's going to be able to pull in data from a lot of different places, be able to analyze that and give you an outcome or a result that you can take and take action on. Of course, it's going to come with a visually rich designed data dashboard that you're able to customize, and it's driven by design. And of course, it's going to have some predictive modeling capabilities in there as well. So you'll be able to either forecast or figure out what if scenarios, plug that in there, and see how it's going to affect your business. Some of the key features here, of course, is looking at how the information is put into the system. So not just typing, but we have a voice navigation and visual assistant that you'll be able to simply ask for the information that you're looking for. So not going to have to worry about keyword searches or anything like that. Of course, if you can do that as well, but the voice navigation allows you to simply ask for it, and Monica will provide it to you in a nice, easy, digestible format. Getting information in there, the natural language processing that you see down here, it's really geared towards navigating some of the complexity of these very diverse and very rich solutions. So being able to create optimum views is going to put that information in front of you and less time searching for it. You'll be able to do some historical trend analysis. So taking some key metrics and looking at that over a defined period of time and seeing how that is going to affect your business going forward. Key events overlays are ways that you can look at a certain action that happened and figure out what was the cause of it. So for example, you had higher turnover in the recent months, and you're trying to isolate those variables and trying to understand what happened there. We're going to the solution itself has different ways to have predictive modeling. So you'll be able to plot different scenarios and get guidance or help on which way uh, to navigate those challenges. And same with the predictive guidance. So you'll be able to see target results and allow for PPA, or the Predictive People Analytics, to recommend multiple methods of achieving that result. All right, looking at the benefits. So again, it's a the PPA, or the Predictive People Analytics, is going to empower you to firmly establish those links of critical events and evolving corporate metrics, such as productivity and turnover, and ultimately close the loop on some of these strategies that impact your business results. So identifying and addressing small issues before they have an opportunity to grow into large ones, simply being proactive as opposed to reactive, plugging in some scenarios and seeing how that's going to affect your business so that you can get ahead of the curve. Might put you in a better standing than some of your competitors out there. Seeing how your company got to where it is and what needs to be done to have a more productive future. So looking at retaining, obviously, some of your more key employees, and what kind of metrics you can do to retain those employees, will drive the productivity of your company. Obtaining an overview of the trends and understanding why they are and why they're happening. That's just going to give you more of a macro view of the different trends in your business, whether it's like cyclical in nature, or there's a systemic reason. It'll be able to help you identify those issues, and then of course the ability to investigate the future and predict optimal ways to reduce turnover and increase profitability. So I live in Florida, and I like to think of this tool very much like the hurricane trackers that are out there. So when the tropical depression starts churning up in the Atlantic, they have the cone of uncertainty, and it could be anywhere. And as the storm starts to form and move through the Atlantic, they get more and more confident on which path that's going to take. Very similar to what this tool does, allows you to take some really good data points and project out how that's going to affect your company. So some sample cases, as I mentioned earlier, improve retention. So the predictive modeling capabilities is going to help you predict, potential turnover, and help you identify those risks, and help you identify an action plan to put together to reduce that risk. Increasing the diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging efforts. Is also very important. Understanding the makeup of your company, because as studies have shown, a diverse workforce offers up a lot of great ideas and is generally more productive and efficient. So understanding how the makeup of your company might affect those outcomes is important in today's day and age. And of course, looking at ways to have you focus on those things that drive your business, and not searching through a robust analytics platform. Being able to save time asking what you need, and using that natural language processing to request that data will get you the results that you want, and onto the action items that you're looking for. All right, so with that, I am going to turn it over to my counterpart, Sean, and he is going to take us through the demonstration here. And I'm going to make you the presenter. And you should be good.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yes.
Awesome. And by the way, Cone of Uncertainty is my band's name. I just thought I'd let you know that.
Of course it
is. Yeah. I'm going to turn off, I'm going to share my screen in a moment, but I'm going to turn off my my video. I noticed that you were kind of freezing up, and so just to kind of save on bandwidth, I'm going to turn off my video for at least for the demonstration purpose, and come back on at the end. But Sean, thank you for kind of queuing everything up for us, talking about the value of PPA. The other way to look at PPA is you house a lot of information within iSolved, or you can, a lot of people-related data. And PPA takes your reporting capability that already is part of the iSolved platform to that next level, And you'll see that in a moment when I share my screen, that you can leverage the data within iSolved, utilizing PPA to aggregate that data, to analyze that data, slice and dice that data, even as Sean mentioned, utilize predictive analysis with some of that data. So that's what we're going to look at today. High level, we'll go through the demonstration. I'll hit on some of the key features. We'll talk about more about some of the benefits. And certainly as we go through, please, put, as Sean indicated, put questions in the Q&A, and we'll respond to those at the end of the demonstration. So let me go ahead and stop my video and share my screen. And then Sean, if you can let me know when you see my screen appear.
You are good.
Excellent, thank you, sir. So what we're looking at here is an example of a dashboard made up of various charts. This particular dashboard I've named Workforce Overview, and I built this dashboard basically through the use of the Create New Dashboard option. And I also pulled in from my metrics library, which we supply with the solution with PPA, People Cloud People Analytics, different metrics libraries, or I should say, different charts that you can pull from the metrics library into your dashboards that you create. So the one we're looking at right now is one that I built called Workforce Overview. In fact, if memory serves, what I might have done here is I might have taken an existing dashboard, like this workforce dashboard, and simply copied it and created a dashboard that way and then tweaked it accordingly. So you have that option as well, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I did want to let you know that you have the ability to create an unlimited number of dashboards through the various charts that we offer through the metrics library. So you have that at your disposal. It's going to allow you, as I mentioned, to leverage the data already housed within iSolve and to aggregate that information and to further analyze and report on that information, which is what we're going to look at next. In fact, when we're looking at this dashboard, which is a collection of charts or dashlets as they're known, you can see that I've got everything from turnover to hires versus terminations to number of employees by department or job level. And they're in a very visual context. Pie charts, bar charts, heat maps, right? Line charts. We have some charts here that are providing numeric values, and we'll drill into some of these in a moment. But when we're looking at this dashboard and this collection of charts or dashlets, what's nice about one of the nice features here is the ability to affect or impact this entire dashboard by simply choosing what time frame, for example, I want to view this information. So right now I'm looking at the last 30 days of aggregated data from iSolved. I can go back and go to February and see how some of that detail changes by me simply choosing a different time frame. In fact, if I scroll down, I can see a rolling 12 months. I can see 3 calendar years, 5 calendar years. So it begins to allow me to leverage this data a number of ways. I can even create a custom time frame, and it'll impact the entire dashboard that we're looking at. Now, that said, let me go back to last 30 days. You see it updates the numbers accordingly on the various charts. What I can also do here is I can actually work with each one of these charts a number of ways. So with this number of employees chart, which is obviously pulling the number of employees I have within my demo environment, I can add this chart to another dashboard. I can remove this chart from this dashboard. I can set reminders or alerts a couple of different ways. So if you're wanting to be alerted, notified via email, for example, when your total number of employees, the chart we're looking at, exceeds or equals or is below a certain threshold, you can certainly set that and save it, and the system will automatically email you notifications or alerts when that transpires. You can also do that on a periodic basis. If you're wanting to provide, let's say, your executive team information on a regular basis, maybe it's a weekly basis or a monthly basis or whatever the case might be, you can set alerts that way. Again, in this case or in this example with this chart and this information of number of employees, it's notifying us based on the total. If I was looking at turnover or if I was looking at a dollar value, as is the case in some of these charts, my options for alerts will change because it's all relevant to the data being presented. So in this case, number of employees, it wants to, it allows me to set an alert for totals, either on a periodic basis where each week it's giving me the totals or alerting me of that, or when that number hits a certain threshold. So the alerting is a really great feature to be proactively made aware of changes to your data, right? Now, in addition to that functionality, if we take a look at average age, another chart here, this is being represented as a pie chart. First off, these little eye icons allow me to see what is this chart displaying, right? So it gives me information on the chart. The three dots, the ellipses, or there's another term for this. It's either shish kebab or whatever. Now we see that these three dots, these ellipses for this chart, allows me not just to add this to another dashboard or remove it from this dashboard or set an alert or alerts based upon the data being represented, but now I can take this chart, this visual context, or this information provided in visual context, and I can download it as an image file to incorporate it within a PowerPoint for a presentation, for example. I can copy and paste it into a Word document. I can share it with others who have access to PPA or People Analytics, so they can add that to their dashboards that they might be creating. And I can change the visual. So in this case, with this average age data, I could visualize this as a bar chart or a column chart or a line chart. So based, again, upon the data that you're looking at, you have other options for charting purposes and easily, quickly change that visualization. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention, we're going to drill into a couple of these examples, starting with this number of employees. Was I wanted to mention that the ability to drag and drop, to resize and rearrange these charts very easily, so you can really create these dashboards and set them up as you need them by just dragging and dropping. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that with some of these dashlets or charts, like number of employees, I can drill down and slice and dice this data, which we're going to look at in a moment. I can view this information over time. So I can view the analytics around, some of the analytics around this data of number of employees. And in this case, I can also apply predictive analysis, which we're going to look at not from number of employees, but when we look at the turnover, we'll look at that from a predictive standpoint. So let's do this. Let's at this juncture. One other quick comment before I forget. So we're talking about this entire dashboard, which is in this case is a collection of charts or dashlets, and we talked about how I can modify the information being displayed by simply choosing different time frames and seeing kind of points in time. What I can also do is I can apply filters to this entire dashboard. So if I want to see how all of these charts, where and when applicable, what that information is reflecting when I'm looking at maybe just female gender or certain ethnicities, I can apply filters that will affect the data being displayed on this entire dashboard. And I can do the same, and we're going to look at this next, from chart to chart. So filtering, and we can see the filters applied here. Filtering is very powerful. It can be applied to the entire dashboard, can be applied to various charts or dashlets. And of course, we can also share or email or download the dashboard for inclusion, like a PowerPoint and whatnot. So there's that same kind of functionality as it applies to the entire dashboard as well as the individual charts. Now, what I'm going to do here, actually, there we go. I think I just reset it. Oh, let me make sure that I reset it. There we go, and apply it. So now I'm resetting my filters, get me back to where let me do that one more time. There we go. So I'll reset my filters, bring me back to the information I was viewing initially. And we're going to drill into this particular chart of number of employees. Easy to understand data, right? It's how many employees are in my demo environment, my database, being pulled into PPA, so I can slice and dice that information and view it, visualize it in different ways. So first and foremost, when I drill into a specific chart, like I just did, drill down, I can hover over this bar chart and I can see I have my 567 employees. If I don't make any other changes, that's how many employees I have represented by this one bar chart. If I scroll down, I can see all of the details related to those 500 and plus employees. And I can add columns to this list so I can visualize the details a number of ways. I can remove columns. So if I don't want to see gender or job title or I want to rearrange things, I certainly can. In fact, what we're also going to look at in a moment is how you can then compare records. We'll get to that in a second. But let's play around with what we're looking at here. And let's visualize it a couple different ways. First off, dependent upon the data you're looking at, you can visualize it as a value, like we're doing here for number of employees, or as a percentage, which really isn't going to tell us anything with this particular data. But in some cases, being able to view it as a value or as a percentage can be very, very useful. For example, with turnover, how many people are turning over? What percentage of people are turning over? Now that said, you can also apply layers or different chart views. So right now we're looking at the total number of employees, but I can layer on gender, for example, the demographics that I have available. And now I can see how many females we have of the 567, how many males, how many non-binary. I can also layer on an additional, like ethnicity. I think we can layer on up to 3 chart views. So now I've layered on ethnicity, 2 or 3 chart views. So now I'm seeing how many employees I have that are female, that are Asian, not Hispanic or Latino, et cetera, and so on. And I can see the same information as it relates to males as well as non-binary. Now, in addition to being able to layer on these various chart views, like you see me do here very quickly and easily, kind of slice and dice, what I can also do is I can apply via my settings filters. So though I have the ability to layer on 2 chart views, I can filter any number of ways. So if I want to see, let's say, people in a certain department, males, females, and ethnicity, etc., I can deselect and select, let's say, commercial and consumer banking and apply that filter. Now I'm seeing the same detail, but I'm filtering by those 2 departments. And I can add as many of those filter layers as is needed, right? I also have access to various settings. And this is important because not only does it allow me to hide bars with no values or to resequence or reorder the information being displayed, but I can also apply benchmarking in certain situations like this one. Now, this is where we have some predefined benchmarks from SHRM and BLS and DCI. And when I apply that benchmark, it shows me where I am as an organization, how I match up to that benchmarking. And I can see that we are actually over the benchmark as it relates to females who are Asian, for example. When it comes to females who are not Hispanic or Latino, we're actually under that benchmark. So benchmarking is available, and we're utilizing predefined benchmarking for that. On our roadmap, just so you're aware, we are working to start to create our own benchmarking given the information within iSolved, housed within iSolved. And so that's on our roadmap to basically consolidate and aggregate information for clients who opt in and use that as another method of benchmarking. But that, like I said, is something that's on our roadmap coming, hopefully down the pike. Now, that was me looking at or being able to drill down on certain details. And again, just to bring it back, we're looking at number of employees in this instance. We are layering on the chart view ethnicity and gender. It actually, either I changed it or it changed automatically to percentage here. You can certainly change to values and see it a little bit different. And then we filtered by department, right? And then we applied some benchmarking. So we were slicing and dicing this information a number of different ways. And then if I scroll down, we're seeing the resulting records displayed, right? Now, let me go ahead and take this a step further. And I'll use this chart as an example of how we can also view the analytics around this data. So when I select analytics, now it's taking our number of employees, it's showing us trends over time. In this case, it's rolling 12 months. Same kind of functionality applies. I can layer on various chart views, such as gender or ethnicity, and a couple different chart views. I can filter. So if I want to see, ethnicity and all males, filter by males. Now I'm viewing all my employees who are male and broken down by ethnicity over the last rolling 12 months. But I can change or alter that time frame, right? Just like we talked about as it relates to the overall dashboard. I can view 3 calendar years, 5 calendar years, 5 fiscal years. I can even create custom, etc., and create custom timeframes. Let's look at this from a 3 calendar year perspective. Now we're looking at a lot of detail, right? And we're seeing this trend over time because we've layered on some things. We're looking at the last 3 calendar years. We're looking at this information being filtered by gender and viewing the ethnicity as part of the chart view. Well, maybe this is great information. It shows that trend, but maybe I want to skinny this information down a little bit or kind of zoom in. What I can do with my settings here is I can group by years. So now I'm looking at it grouped by years. And I am even showing the current year, which we're not done with yet, right? We're only halfway through. So in some cases, and in this particular chart, it's not displaying this option, but in some charts, it will actually allow me to view, and it might be doing this in this case by default, view the 2023, even though we're not done with it, view it as if it was a completed year. So I can predict, in other words, what will this look like for the entire year based upon modeling that's in place. Sean had mentioned, and this is, I think, a fairly newer feature. So we're constantly enhancing this capability, of course, just like anything in iSolved. The events overlay. If I select that or turn it on, we can see that in 2021, we closed the Detroit office, right? And maybe that had an impact on the number of employees. Whereas in 2022, 2023, we opened the New Jersey office. And so we saw a spike in the number of employees, et cetera. Let me go ahead and go back to my my filters here. And let's go back to my total. And one other thing I want to quickly check. Yeah, so this, I can group by years, but it's not showing the, it's not calculating or modeling the total for 2023 as it would do in some instances. It depends again on the data and the modeling that's in place. So we're going to look at another example when we get into predictive analytics in a moment related to turnover, and I believe in that example we'll see that I can kind of predict the total for the year for 2023. In other words, right now we're in June of 2023. Let the system predict what that would look like for the entire year. Long story made short. But this functionality is, again, enabling you to not just drill down and slice and dice on the data that already exists within iSolved related to your people, and do that in a variety of ways, and to share that information. It's also allowing us to apply analytics and view those trends over time. Now, let's do this. Let's go back to my dashboard, our workforce overview dashboard. And again, we were looking at the number of employees. We see some other dashlets here, such as average age, tenure. And if I scroll down, we see turnover by year. Now I can drill down into this chart. I can apply analytics over time to this chart, but with this one, I also have the ability to utilize that predictive analysis. So when I go into this chart in more of a predictive mode, the default is 6 months. So it's showing me the prior 6 months leading up to June, and then it's predicting what turnover will look like in the next 6 months. I can certainly change that as well. I can look at 6 calendar quarters, 5 calendar years, 5 fiscal years, and have it display those predictions based upon the modeling that's in place. Now, the same rules apply to what I'm looking at here as far as overlaying different chart views, being able to download this as an image file or share it with others, as well as applying various filters. And you'll notice that when I go and open up my settings, we see that this last month of November that's being predicted based upon the modeling is a different color. We're going to talk about that. That reflects what Sean was mentioning around the guidance capabilities. But before we get there, in addition to being able to apply various filters, so if I want to see, again, just females or just males as it relates to our predictive turnover by year, I can select the different filter, and then it thinks, it calculates, it predicts, it models, right? Or remodels it. And now I'm looking at what this would look like if we're just looking at females. And I can validate that by scrolling down and seeing all of the records that it relates to, and they are all females. Now, let me go ahead and reset my filters here. And let's talk about some of the settings that are available with predictive analytics. In this case, it's allowing me to overlay a regression analysis. So if you're someone really into stats, you're a statistician, you'll know what the regression analysis is all about and how that can be leveraged and overlaid. But really what I want to focus on is the guidance and the analysis. Now, notice that it says regression should be disabled first. So to utilize the guidance capability, I need to turn off my regression analysis. And now I can go to guidance. And we can see that it says targeted turnover in November. So that's why this is a different color, is because what it's showing us, it's providing some guidance to us to be able to interact with this information and specify what our turnover, what we want our turnover to be. Right now, it's predicting that we're going to lose 19 people in November of this year based upon the modeling that's in place. What I can do is I can change this to a lower number, and not only will it reflect accordingly on the chart, but it's also going to provide us some insights or some guidance on what we need to do or what we could do to hit that targeted number of 15 people versus 19 people. Another way that I can modify this targeted turnover is simply drag and drop the number, or the chart, drag and drop on the chart. And when I hit enter, the modeling is recalculating things, recalibrating things based upon this new targeted number. And it's going to let us know, here's, based upon this modeling and how it's set up today, here's what you can do to bring this targeted turnover down to 11.27 versus 19. You can increase people's salary by 21%, or and apply that model. You could modify the benefit costs. You can increase the number of remote employees that you have and apply that model. Let's go ahead and apply the salary-oriented. Let's just see what would happen if we give everyone a 21% increase and see how that might affect things. So I'm applying that model, and we see it brings everything down accordingly, which is great. Good news, right? Except that giving everyone a 21% increase is maybe not a great business decision for our organization. So maybe we want to instead look at applying other models like making or having more people work remotely, et cetera. So this guidance is great because it allows you to specify what your goal is, and then it predicts or provides you with steps you can take, and then you can apply those models to see what kind of impact it might have to that information, in this case, turnover. And the other thing that is available is the analysis, where before we get into the whole guidance piece, maybe we take a look at the analysis tab to see what are our higher impact variables that the modeling is telling us is or could be potentially impacting turnover in this case. And so if we see that salary is highest on the list, which it is in this case, then maybe giving everyone a bump up in pay is the way to go. Maybe it's not, 21% increase, but maybe it's a 10% increase or whatever the case might be. And so we can apply that as well. So on my summary tab down below, which I've already selected, we see all the variables we're talking about. And so right now we've applied this 21%. Let's change it to 10%. I hit enter, and it is going to calculate based upon the 10% increase, and we're going to see how that impacts turnover, could impact turnover. It doesn't impact it as much as a 21% increase in everyone's pay, but it does impact it. It does impact it. So this is where the predictive analysis really comes in. It becomes very powerful. It allows you to, again, leverage the data that's already within iSolved to provide you insights and potential steps that you could take to, in this case, positively affect things like turnover, et cetera. So it can be very, very powerful. And that's just, again, one example of how the system can work. And we are, constantly developing new modeling in the system. So when I first started demoing PPA, Cloud People Analytics, I think we had average salary, commute distance, and remote employee percentage as part of the modeling. Now we see that we've incorporated benefit costs in that modeling as well. But that was a little bit on the predictive analytics. The last thing that I want to share with you is how you can take all of this and get very quick and easy answers by simply asking questions. So what we've done is we've been playing around with the various charts, and you've seen me interact with the charts and apply filters and apply chart views, etc., and so on. But there is what we call NLP, and again, Sean mentioned this in his part of the presentation, stands for natural language processing, and it can be done a couple different ways. So one is by simply typing in this bar up top, typing in search criteria. How many financial analysts, right? So how many financial analysts do we have in our organization? And if I typed in, it didn't like that. Okay. Let me go back. Actually, you know what? Let me go back to my workforce overview, and let's go into the number of employees. Let's use that chart. And I'll just type in the question. Yeah, it's not liking me today. I was just testing this earlier, and it was coming out. It was coming out perfectly. So I don't know what's happening with my demo environment, but the idea here is you can ask questions and type in the questions, and the system will provide you the results. Just take one of the predefined questions here. There we go. So how many female managers do we have? It's now showing 324. So I'd like that question a little bit better in my demo environment here. Another way in which you can get answers very quickly is by activating and utilizing the bot that we see here. Now this bot is currently female. You can change it through the admin settings to male. You can name it whatever you want to name it. But it acts just like you would suspect it to act like it would if it was, like an Alexa or a Siri or that kind of thing. In this case, our bot's name, we named her Monica. And if I activate her and I ask her a question, Monica, how many employees do I have in the Chicago office? Okay, so there's a total of 39 employees in the Chicago office. What you did not hear, because it came through my headset, unfortunately, was her saying total 39. So she actually relayed that information to me with her voice. So whether you're typing in questions or you're utilizing the bot, you can get to information very, very quickly within iSolve's People Cloud, People Analytics. So I definitely wanted to show you what is referred to as NLP, or that natural language processing. Let me go back to my workforce overview dashboard and kind of stop here and see if there were any questions that came through. Sean?
There have been no questions as of yet. So I think you've done a pretty good job of explaining, the functionality and, what it can do. I'll open it up as well to any questions that you folks have. Please put them in the Q&A section or the chat. And I just wanted to share just a couple more slides here. Um, while you guys gather your questions. So future-proofing the technology, you heard Sean talk about, some of the added, you know, analysis that we had put in there, with the benefits cost recently. So we're always looking at ways to improve the product, whether that's looking at the industry and competitive, updates, or if we're looking at, the market or compliance updates, regulatory updates, things like that. We are always looking to improve. We release things on a quarterly basis to improve the solution as well. So wanted to also give you guys a contact over at MP for any additional questions, as I know usually when you have webinars such as this and there's a lot of detailed information, sometimes it takes a little bit to digest it. So if you do digest it, come back and have questions, reach out to Chris over at NP, and he'd be more than happy to help you out with anything that you have. Let me just check. And I don't think we have any more questions or any questions. So I will say thank you for your time this afternoon. Thank you, Sean, for walking us through that demonstration. Very helpful. And thanks for everyone for joining. Thank you, MP, for setting this up. And hope everyone has a fantastic day.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks, everyone.